Happening now, Chautauqua County has issued a state of emergency as an influx of migrants are coming into the state. And City of Jamestown lawmakers are proposing an over $6 million bond to improve municipal facilities. Plus, a family grieving the loss of a newborn baby is holding a fundraiser educating on a rare disease.
Live and on demand, this is WNY News Now.
Thank you for joining us for WNY News Now. I'm Bronson Rasmussen. Those stories and more are coming up, but first, County Executive P.J. Wendell has declared a state of emergency for Chautauqua County in response to the influx of migrants coming into New York State. The county executive has been deliberating the proclamation, finally declaring a state of emergency in Chautauqua County as migrants are busing into the state.
We issued a state of emergency here in Chautauqua County. It's really, something we've talked about the last 2 or 3 days. We've been watching it. I met with my human services cabinet. We reached out to people that are currently working with our asylum seekers. And they flat told me, the people that are boots on the ground said, we can't take anymore. You have to tell them no if the question is asked, will you take more individuals?
All of this is on the heels of Title 42, stopping immigrants at the border, which has come to an end. The migrants are not capable of being employed due to state and federal standards.
I don't think there's a problem here in Chautauqua County because they do want to work. They have a skill set. Some of them are highly educated. They want to work. They want to, provide for themselves.
With an influx of asylum seekers, the problem is growing exponentially.
We have been dealing with, asylum seekers in our county without any assistance from state or federal agencies now for 6 months.
Moving forward, the county executive would like to see changes coming from the state and federal level.
It's a failed policy. The governor has to stand in front of the president and demand, one, stop the bleeding. Stop the excessive flow of people coming across the southern border. That has to happen.
Tuesday, New York Governor Kathy Hochul announced a state of emergency for the entire New York state. In addition, all counties in western New York, except for Erie County, have now followed suit. Well, Jamestown man was arrested for allegedly assaulting and choking a female, not allowing her to call authorities. Jamestown police responded Wednesday night to a domestic dispute called at the city's south side. Now, upon arrival, authorities determined that 33-year-old Ronald Singleton had allegedly assaulted a female victim. Now, after investigation, police learned that Singleton had choked and restrained the victim, not allowing her to call authorities. Officers were also advised that the victim was also prevented from leaving of her own free will. Now, Singleton was on scene and taken into custody. He now faces several charges, including unlawful imprisonment and criminal obstruction of breathing. Singleton was transported to city court, where he awaits arraignment. Well, the city of Jamestown Mayor Eddie Sundquist told council members this week that the city would have to take out a multi-million-dollar bond to address needed upgrades and repairs to municipal buildings. The draft includes $3.15 million for the city hall alone. $1.8 million of it will to replace the leaky, unfixable roof. Now another $1 million to add HVAC. $350,000 to replace 17 windows. Now, Councilman Marie Kruba added that the city should look at replacing all of the windows in the municipal building to conserve energy and to find a more readily available manufacturer. Now, other upgrades include replacing the DPW building's roof, replacing a water line in Bergman Park, gap funding for the new fleet maintenance building, and $2 million to replace the roof at the Fenton History Center. Now, Mayor Sundquist assured council members that the city could borrow more than enough funds to cover all the costs. However, there are grants that could lessen the burden.
We're very low on our actual debt right now as a city, and so we wanted to confirm with them what we think we could borrow. The other thing I will point out is we still have ARPA funds. I didn't include it in here because I think it's a discussion for everyone. There's still $1.7 million in ARPA funds that could be applied towards this should the council wish.
Now, currently, this is just a proposal draft to council with the intent to spark deliberation. While freezing cold temperatures over the past few days have taken their toll on vineyards across western New York, WENY's Alexandra Dern reports on the hard hits to crops.
Is far and away the worst that we've ever had.
David Stamp, the vineyard manager at Lakewood Vineyard, says his crop growth was right on schedule, and then the frost came. For nearly half of his crops, the freezing temperatures stopped any growth that was in progress.
This scale, it's going to reduce our crop by 60, 70, 80%.
WENY's chief meteorologist Joe Vera says some regions of the Twin Tiers got all the way down to 24 degrees Fahrenheit early this morning. He adds the cold, dense air tends to settle down in low-lying areas.
Vineyards are typically on hillsides, and one of the reasons why they're on hillsides is because that colder, dense air usually filters down off the hillside. The only issue was early this morning, temperatures were just so cold that even that effect wasn't able to save a good portion of the grape crop.
Glenn Allen, co-owner of Damiani Wine Cellars, has 5 different vineyards. Allen says due to the freezing temperatures, roughly 2.5 of his vineyards are probably okay, and the other 2.5 range from a 70 to 100% loss in usable crops. Allen adds his vineyards aren't the only ones damaged. It appears to be spread out throughout the region.
Even some vineyards which have traditionally done well got hit hard, and part of that for us is vineyards that were on a flat table had very little air movement.
But Allen remains hopeful.
But as I tell my customers, if the vines survive the winter, if they survive the frost, the results are spectacular.
Well, switching gears a little bit, we'll get a first check of our weather forecast with Chief Forecaster Andrew Stevenson. And please don't tell me that there's cold this time.
Yeah, we don't have to deal with any frost tonight, but we will have to deal with some rain showers. First, the fence Doppler radar. We had some sunshine out there this morning, but now we have some clouds starting to build in the region. We even have a couple of spotty, isolated showers starting to pop out, and these clouds will continue to build in out ahead of a cold front that's going to move through the region later tonight. Let's take a look at the almanac for today. We made it to a high of 68 degrees today, which was 2 degrees below our average for this time of year. Our low was 31, and the records for today, 90 was the record high set back in 1996 and the record low of 27 set back in 2009. So here is your first defense forecast for the rest of the afternoon out there. Clouds will be on the increase through the afternoon, again out ahead of a cold front later tonight, with an isolated shower or thunderstorm possible through the afternoon with a south wind of 15 to 20 miles per hour. And highs today will be in the upper 60s close to the Lake Erie shoreline to the low to mid 70s inland. I'll have a look at that full forecast, including when the rain's coming and how much rain we're going to get coming up in the full forecast in just a few minutes.
All right, Andrew, we'll see you then. As WNY News Now continues, we have a look at a bill that would allow cameras in New York courtrooms. And later, a study has shown that multiple bridges should be inspected following a collapsed bridge in Pittsburgh last year. Stay with us, as WNY News Now will be right back.
With coverage that matters. This is WNY News Now.
On this episode of Lead and Lures, pro staffer and lethal lady Caitlin Armstrong takes out her big Ohio buck. Months of hard work, dedication, and scouting have led her to this moment. You're not going to want to miss this episode of Lead and Lures on Channel 716 Roku TV. And if you want to see more of Caitlin Armstrong, follow her on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram.
You know, hunting
Caitlin
on
Armstrong
private land has been quite the experience.
EagleZip.com is your local one-stop shop for all of your home and business computer needs. Located on Fluvan Avenue Extension, just outside of Jamestown, EagleZip.com sells and services all brands of desktops and laptops, as well as servers and network equipment for your business. All new computer sales include transferring your data from your old computer plus a 2-year warranty. Call EagleZip.com today.
Stop by EagleZip.com today and let us make computers easy for you. 3-on-3 basketball returns to Jamestown, New York this summer. Collaborative Children's Solutions and partners are hosting a Gus Macker tournament August 19th and 20th in Brooklyn Square. The streets will be packed with a festival atmosphere, bringing the youngest of our Macker-mites up to the adult players who compete for the top prize in their divisions. Register online at Macker.com before July 31st. The Jamestown Macker will also include some specialty competitions, making it one of the best community events of the year.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
This week, some New York State lawmakers passed a package of bills intending to strengthen judicial transparency. Now our New York State Capitol correspondent, Elise Klein, breaks down one of the bills that would increase access for video and audio recordings in courtrooms.
Nearly every state in the country allows audio-visual recordings in courtrooms. A bill recently passed in the Senate would make New York another one of those states.
Bottom line is our public deserves to see how our laws are interpreted, how justice is served, how victims, witnesses, and defendants are treated.
Senator Hoylman Siegel adds the legislation will allow some restrictions considerate to the needs of witnesses. Some New York State attorneys say this legislation will allow New Yorkers to see how the judicial system operates and allow access to justice.
I mean, there are some litigants whose lawyers go to court for them, but for whatever reason, the litigants cannot themselves make it into the courthouse and watch their own trial or their own proceedings.
This bill will have to be passed in the Assembly and then signed by the governor before becoming law. Senator Hoylman Siegel says there are ongoing conversations to pass this bill in the Assembly. The Judiciary Committee is not totally sold. In Albany, Elise Klein, WNY News Now.
This week, Governor Josh Shapiro is working to build support for student mental health investments in his budget. Now, Shapiro was in Western Pennsylvania yesterday and in Philly as well to highlight his proposals. Now, Shapiro's budget includes under $1 million over the next 5 years for student mental health by providing on-site counselors and services. He's also providing $20 million in the next fiscal year to restore mental health funding to Pennsylvania communities and community-based mental health services for residents. Shapiro says it is time to listen to the students.
We're committed to working, Democrats and Republicans alike, to passing a budget that invests in making sure our students have what they need. Our students are crying out for help, and it is up to us to deliver for them.
Now, the PA governor met with students this week to discuss other ideas to help with their mental issues. One major issue students face is a lack of sleep. Now, Shapiro said he'd work with lawmakers to explore potentially pushing back the start of the school day. While the National Transportation Safety Board says 10,000 bridges across the nation need to be inspected for potential safety hazards. During the investigation into a 2022 bridge collapse in Pittsburgh, inspectors found corrosion in some places that was so severe it caused holes in the bridge's legs. The NTSB says the uncoated weathering steel has not been properly maintained, and the board is urging the Federal Highway Administration to work with departments of transportation across the U.S. to inspect the 10,000 bridges made with the same material. Police released video from Monday's mass shooting in Farmington, New Mexico, when police say an 18-year-old gunman killed 3 people and injured 6 others. Now, the video includes a police body cam and doorbell video. Police say a 79-year-old woman was the first person shot as she drove down the street just outside the home of the gunman. Now, the 2 other people killed, a 98-year-old woman and her 73-year-old daughter, pulled over to apparently help her when they were also gunned down. Here's a view of how the fatal encounter ended. Viewer discretion is advised.
Arms to your hands! I'm good! Subject down! Subject is down!
Now 2 of the 6 injured people are officers. All have been released from hospital. Police say that the gunman fired at 3 vehicles and 6 houses. Now the motive is still under investigation. Following reports of potential ethic violations by Supreme Court justices in recent months, a Senate committee held a hearing on judicial ethics, but members were split on whether this is a congressional issue or not. Our D.C. correspondent, Rachel Knapp, reports from the U.S. Supreme Court.
Last month, ProPublica reported that Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas received free trips from a Republican mega donor. Some say that it could be a potential violation of ethics and disclosure requirements. Now, that report has brought a fresh attention to judicial ethics. The American Bar Association says while Supreme Court justices must adhere to some ethical requirements set by federal statute, they are not bound by any rules that include the full sweep of basic ethical principles that apply to other judges. The ABA says an independent judiciary is the cornerstone of the rule of law in our constitutional republic. But they go on to say the absence of a clearly articulated binding code of ethics for the justices of the court imperils the legitimacy of the court. The recent Senate hearing focused on how the Judicial Conference of the United States, which serves as the policymaking body for federal courts, looked at the possible financial ethics violations by Justice Thomas and what their process is. Democrats have argued that Justice Thomas's potential violations show that Congress needs to step in and create an ethics outline for the highest court. Democrats say the Senate hearing on the Judicial Conference is necessary because the Judicial Conference is a statutory body and the Ethics in Government Act is a federal statute. However, Republicans accuse Democrats of attacking the court.
The Judicial Conference has a committee on financial disclosure. Our request about the recent Thomas allegations was sent there. I've urged that committee to act with dispatch and to provide us information to understand how the process is handled.
This is a continued effort to undermine a United States Supreme Court that isn't ruling the way that some of my Democratic colleagues want.
A couple weeks ago, Chief Justice John Roberts declined to testify before the Senate Judiciary Committee. He sent a letter to senators saying that justices seek to abide by the code of conduct followed by the lower courts. He insisted that the existing rules around gifts, travel, and other financial disclosures are enough. At the Supreme Court, Rachel Knapp reporting.
Coming up, we take a look at our furry friend of the week, looking for their forever home. And if you're a fan of Disney, you might like this one. And later, we take a sneak peek into a benefit dinner in Jamestown this weekend, all to support a local cause. But first, we return with a look at our full weather forecast.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
3-on-3 basketball returns to Jamestown, New York this summer. Collaborative Children's Solutions and partners are hosting a Gus Macker tournament August 19th and 20th in Brooklyn Square. The streets will be packed with a festival atmosphere, bringing the youngest of our Macker mites up to the adult players who compete for the top prize in their divisions. Register online at Macker.com before July 31st. The Jamestown Macker will also include some specialty competitions, making it one of the best community events of the year.
Have you ever wanted to live out your dreams? Hunt, fish, in all corners of the earth? Well, now's your chance. Follow Primitive Patriot Outdoors as we live out our dreams and show you how to live out yours through outdoor adventures. From Western New York to Africa to all corners of the earth, follow us on this adventure. It's an experience you've never seen before. Lead and Lures, Roku TV, channel 716.
I don't think that many kids in my son's school even do it.
He makes fun of his friend who vapes.
He would never try it.
She's into soccer.
She's on the honor roll.
She's just not the type.
No way.
No way.
No way.
No way. My kid would never vape.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping. Maybe even yours.
Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
With coverage that matters, this is WNY News Now.
Fast, accurate, and everyday. First Defense Weather.
Conditions in downtown Jamestown. Right now we're under mostly cloudy skies out there. The current temperature at the Jamestown airport is 64 degrees with a south wind of 13 miles per hour and a gust of 21 miles per hour. Here's what's happening across the northeast right now. The high pressure that's been keeping us dry the past few days is starting to lose its grip on the region, and the cold front associated with a low pressure system currently over the upper peninsula of Michigan is slowly inching its way towards our area, and that cold front is going to move through our region later tonight and through the day tomorrow. So let's time it out on future scan for the rest of the afternoon out there. Clouds will continue to be on the increase through the afternoon. Now these showers and possibly a thunderstorm. I don't think it's going to be this widespread as future scan is showing, but these showers, isolated showers this afternoon, will pop up out ahead of that cold front with a prefrontal trough. The main cold front and low pressure system is going to pass through the region tonight into tomorrow, and that's when widespread rain and maybe even a couple rumbles of thunder come to the area. But by the time tomorrow afternoon rolls around, that cold front will be moving out of the area, and we should dry out tomorrow afternoon. Might get a couple peaks of sunshine after that cold front moves through, and then after that, high pressure is going to build back into the region Saturday night into Sunday. That's going to bring a return of full sunshine back to the region on Sunday and into early next week. In terms of rainfall, this is how much rainfall we're expecting. This is the quantitative precipitation forecast over the next 24 hours. Most of the area is looking around maybe a quarter of an inch up to upwards of a half an inch, with higher rainfall totals possible right near the immediate Lake Erie shoreline up to maybe 3/4 of an inch, where most of the rain is going to be falling, or in any embedded thunderstorms. And now the extended forecast powered by Ultimate Satellite Solutions. Temperatures today, highs will make into the lower 70s, but you see what happens behind that cold front. Temperatures drop down into the upper 50s tomorrow, but we're right back into the 60s and 70s heading into Sunday and Monday, and high pressure builds back in and unsettled quiet weather returns next week. More sunshine and temperatures in the 70s through much of next week.
All right, Andrew, thank you much. Well, in an effort to help animals find their forever home, WNY News Now is partnering with the Chautauqua County Humane Society in a segment called The Pet of the Week. Now, Brian Papalea has more about this week's featured furry friend.
Hi, Bronson. Brian here at the Chautauqua County Humane Society, and we're in the cat colony, and this is Olaf. Olaf is a cat who will need to spend a little time getting to know his new family, because he's a little shy and maybe a little nervous about traveling. But once you get him home, after talking with our adoption counselors, you're going to find he's a very loving cat and going to be a great addition to your family. So stop on by and meet this 3-year-old boy and take him home. Also want to remind you, tomorrow, right here at the shelter, 2825 Strunk Road in Jamestown, is going to be the Rescue Run 5K. The registration starts at 10, and then you can participate in the race at 11. So come down for that. You'll see a pet art show with art done by the animals. So when you're here tomorrow, stop and meet Olaf, put in an adoption form, and look up more information on the 5K org. Thank you, Bronson.
To learn more about Olaf or other residents of the shelter, contact the Chautauqua County Humane Society at 716-665-2209 or visit chqhumane.org. Well, next, how a local family is working to raise awareness of a rare disease.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
I know what you're thinking. I need a job. I need a new career.
Well, I've been there.
I've been there.
I've been there. I wasn't happy with what I was doing. After high school, I didn't have a plan.
I just wanted to start working. I got laid off twice, but you gotta keep going.
You just need the right skills. Find an apprenticeship.
I found a 2-year IT program.
I found a medical course online.
I'm now a consultant in the tech space.
You have more options than you think. You can do this. You will find something.
You will find something new.
3-on-3 basketball returns to Jamestown, New York this summer. Collaborative Children's Solutions and partners are hosting a Gus Macker tournament August 19th and 20th in Brooklyn Square. The streets will be packed with a festival atmosphere, bringing the youngest of our Macker mites up to the adult players who compete for the top prize in their divisions. Register online at Macker.com before July 31st. The Jamestown Macker will also include some specialty competitions, making it one of the best community events of the year.
On this episode of Lead and Lures, pro staffer and lethal lady Caitlin Armstrong takes out her big Ohio buck. Months of hard work, dedication, and scouting have led her to this moment. You're not going to want to miss this episode of Lead and Lures on Channel 716 Roku TV. And if you want to see more of Caitlin Armstrong, follow her on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram at Caitlin Armstrong.
Land has been quite the experience.
You're watching WNY News Now, your source for breaking news.
A new parent is grieving the loss of one of her newborns as a rare disease affected her pregnancy. Now the family is planning on raising awareness for the debilitating blight that ravaged the homestead. Now our Alyssa Wright joins us live in the studio with more.
Just 4 days after delivery, tragedy struck the Bennett family as baby Madeline passed away due to complications with this disease. During the pregnancy, it was discovered that Michaela Bennett had a rare blood disease, hereditary hemorrhagic telangiectasia. The family is now hosting a benefit to not only raise funds to cover hospital costs, but also raise awareness of this rare and scary disease.
On December 21st, Michaela was admitted to the hospital at 24 weeks pregnant with twins. She found out that she had a rare medical condition known as HHT, which also causes AVMs. Due to her health complications, she was able to carry the babies to 30 weeks. And at 30 weeks, they decided that her health was at risk and that they needed to deliver the babies.
Unfortunately, the disease was passed from mother to children.
They were both born with the same rare disease, and the baby girl passed shortly after she was born from that disease. And Miles still has complications because of this disease. So the benefit is for medical bills, the doctor's appointments in the future. There's going to be more surgeries for Michaela and for Miles in the future.
The family now wants to educate more people about HHT in hopes of preventing tragedy for others.
She was born with it, and we didn't know until she was pregnant. The common things to look for that is like nosebleeds that occur often. They could be mild to severe. They look like little small dots, and when you press on them, they turn white. So those are some of the things to look for these HHT. And if anybody was to have those kind of symptoms, that they should try to figure it out with their doctor.
The Bennett family wants to express their thanks to the community for coming together with such overwhelming support.
They do express the thanks that we have for everybody who's been involved.
Will be held this Sunday at the Celeron Legion in Jamestown, starting at 1 p.m. The spaghetti dinner is $10 a ticket. Kids 5 and under are free. To purchase a ticket, you can contact Michaela Fardink at 716-708-9342.
And it's really great to see something like this happening for such really a worthy cause.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a tragedy, and this family is spinning it to raise awareness to a disease that most people could be walking around and not even know that they have.
It would be a nice time for them, I bet, to be able to see the community turn out for something like this. But that is all the time that we have for today, everyone. But we will leave you with this look outside our studio in downtown Jamestown, if the camera actually likes us. Well, you know what? We'll change it to Randolph for you. We'll see you next time.